Self mastery simply means that whatever you speak, your content should be so solid that you would be able to speak and you would be able to clarify the doubts of your audience. Now, if you have a doubt on the topic which you are delivering, again, when audience is going to ask questions, you will not be able to answer, and again, your rapport is going to get vanished. So this is where you need to be very much careful about self mastery. So you should be very much competent when it comes to your topic, self mastery. Next one, hydrate. This is one of the most important thing which you could do. Hydrate means take proper water intake. Take as much water as possible. If you drink plenty of water, yes, it also impacts your way of speaking because our body contains 70% of the liquid. And if you dehydrate the body, of course, it is not going to perform in a better way. So you should understand that you need to hydrate your body in a proper manner so that you would be able to deliver the content in a best possible manner. So hydrate, it is very much necessary. Practice. Well, this is something which I heard people speaking. Practice makes man perfect. Well, let me add something into it. Practice does not make you perfect. Practice, if you do practice of negative or wrong things, you will be perfect in wrong things. So the correct statement would be perfect practice makes a man. It is different from whatever you hear. Perfect practice makes a man, not practice makes a man perfect. Perfect practice makes a man. So if you practice perfectly, then you will become perfect. So always practice, always do perfect practice. And of course, for that you need mentor who can help you achieving this perfect practice. Next, set the objective. Now, before you speak, before you communicate, you should set the objective. Now, what do we mean by set the objective? It simply means when you are about to speak, initially convey your audience about the topics which you are going to cover so that your audience should be prepared in advance about the topics which will be covered and they should be more attentive about the things. Maybe each and every point might not be useful for them, but there might be a point which he or she might feel important about. So they will keep on waiting for that point to come. So in the initially when you are speaking, set your objective so that your audience wait and it will also create a kind of suspense for your audience. So it really will suffice your need. Now these are the points which are under clarity of thought. So let me revise it for you once again. The first one is simplify your topic. Write down your topic. Self mastery. You should be very much competent about the topic which you are speaking on. Hydrate yourself as much as possible so that you should be physically fit. Practice, perfect practice makes a man. And last but not the least, set the objective. Now let's talk about including personal examples. In your way of speaking, when you include personal examples, your way of speaking really enhances because audience again feels connected with you. So the greater connection is going to get established between you and the audience. You can reach to the level of the audience. Reach to the level of the audience simply means that if you communicate with your audience and if you speak from your point of view, then the audience will not feel connected with your speaking. They might be listening to your content, but it's going to be the passive kind of listening. Now to convert them into the active listening, you should reach to the level of audience. You should understand your audience. Then only it is possible to reach to the level of the audience. And if you reach to their level and try to speak on the level they are in, your purpose of communication will be established. And in this as well, the most important thing is the amount of words or the quality of words which you use. For example, if you are using very complicated vocabulary, again, they will lose their interest. It is not going to suffice your need. And very soon, they will feel disconnected. So always reach to the level of audience and then convey your speech. Emotional connect. Now, this is something which is very important. Your audience is a human being, and of course, every human being is emotional, and you too are emotional. So if you connect emotionally with your audience, you are going to put a long lasting impression on your audience's mind, which is going to create a very wonderful impact on your audience. So if you connect with your emotions to your audience, and how is it going to establish? Again, by means of storytelling. Because from our childhood itself, we are accustomed to listening to stories. And if you keep on implementing stories in your way of speaking, of course, emotional connect is going to get established and you will be a perfect speaker soon. So try to connect with your audience emotionally. Next one, reveals vulnerability. I have discussed it earlier as well, but still it needs to be discussed and it is very important. Because through storytelling, once you connect with your audience emotionally, they will feel more, you will be more approachable to them. So they will come to you for seeking solution and you would be in a position to help them in a better way. And that is the sole purpose of communication. Solve the problem, become the winner. And how are you going to solve the problems when the person might come to you and speak about his or her problem? And why the person will come to you? Only when the trust will be developed. And how trust is going to develop? Based upon the common grounds which we discussed earlier. So each and every point is correlated to each other. So you need to understand each and every point is very much important in essentials of communication skills. Stories sell. Now this is one of the most important point. Whenever you convey stories, it sells. Sell simply means selling is something which you keep on doing through your lifetime. Sales एक ऐसी चीज है जो आप पूरे अपने लाइफ में करते हो. For example, you sell your knowledge, you sell your skills to your boss, you sell your potential to your employer. So every single day, every single time we are selling something. We are selling right now, you are selling your time to learn something new out of this workshop. So every single day, every single moment, we are selling something. We are selling our breathing to sustain, to be alive. So we are engaged into the sales process. And when it comes to stories, if you convey your speech by means of stories, they really sell and they create a long lasting impression. And storytellers rule. Wherever you go, whatever bigger the platform is, even if the speaker is speaking by means of story, not only you could remember the complex topics, but of course it is going to be stay in your mind for long. And that is where the storytelling comes into play. Every single speaker, whosoever you can think of, they always use this technique to win the hearts of their audience. So use this storytelling rule because it is really going to help you a lot. Now in English, especially, we also say that a person who is a good listener has the potential to become a good speaker. Right now, as I could see, all the 18 participants are listening to me very closely and they are focusing on my content very carefully. So I could say that each one of you has the potential to become a perfect speaker. So listening skills are also very important when it comes to communication. Now let's understand. So if you listen, now here you need to think from listening point of view. अभी आपको as a listener सोचना पड़ेगा from here onwards. So being a listener, if you are a very good listener, if you are good at listening, in listening always follow the two finger rule. Listening में हमेशा दो finger का rule होता है. Whenever someone speaks, keep these two fingers in your mouth. ऐसे दो finger अपने mouth पे रख लेना है. These two things shows two important assets which you are giving to your audience. The first one is your time and the second one is your attention. जब भी आप किसी को सुनते हो, आप दो important चीज अपने स्पीकर को देते हो. आप अपना टाइम देते हो और आप अपना अटेंशन देते हो. Most important asset. So these are two finger rules and you should keep your mouth shut. जब भी कोई बोलता है, सुनना है. Listen to listen, not to respond. सुनना है सुनने के लिए, बोलने के लिए नहीं. So always listen to the person very carefully. अगर आप ध्यान से पर्सन को सुनते हो, definitely you would be a best or better speaker as well. Next point, try to feel what the speaker is feeling. Now, once you become a good listener, you try to feel what the speaker is feeling. For example, you might be watching a video on YouTube. Now, if you listen only, or if you listen to that audio unconsciously, the thing is that you will get the message, but again you will forget the message after 2 or 3 days. But if you listen to the audio or the person very closely, then you will try to think from the speaker's point of view, and you will not forget the content at all. So लोग बोलते हैं ना कि सर हम लोग जब इंग्लिश बोलते हैं तो वर्ड्स भूल जाते हैं. So always try to notice how your trainer or how your teacher is speaking, and be a good listener. Try to think from the speaker's point of view. If you do this, very soon you will be a good speaker. आप speaker को feel करने के लिए की कोशिश करो, and जैसे ही आप speaker को feel करने की कोशिश करोगे, आप खुद speaker बन जाओगे. For example, let's say Mr. Narendra Modi, our honorable Prime Minister, is giving a speech. Now listen to his speech very carefully. अगर आप उसके जैसा सुनोगे, तो उसके जैसी thinking pattern develop होगी, and very soon you will be also like him. So that is the point of listening skill. Ask questions. If you are a good listener, you would be able to ask relevant questions. अगर आप अच्छे listener हो, तो आप speaker से relevant questions पूछ पाओगे. It will save time and money for both of you. आप दोनों का, यानी speaker का और सुनने वाले का, दोनों का time बचेगा इस, and you will gain more knowledge. You will be more productive. So try to become a better listener. अगर आपने listening power अपनी improve कर, I have seen majority of the people telling that sir, we watch YouTube videos, but when it comes to speaking, we find it quite difficult. No sir, you are not a good listener. If you work on your listening power, you listen to each and every single word of the speaker, then you would be able to implicate or copy or imitate the speaker, and you will also start speaking like the speaker. आप लोग ध्यान से सुनते नहीं हो, इसीलिए आप लोग ध्यान से बोल नहीं पाते. So listening is one of the most important tool. Even in my life as well, there are so many people who learned English by listening only. Even I am the practical example. Before I was into this profession, I was into something else, and my sole source of learning this language is listening. I used to listen to the native speakers, and I used to listen to them very carefully. And from them only, I learned so many things, which even I am not aware of right now. So subconsciously, my mind picked up the things. And right now, as you could see, that I could speak English. So you should be a very good listener. Next one. If the speaker is speaking, wait for the speaker to pause. Do not try to interrupt in between. That, sir, ma'am, I have a question. It's okay. It's really good that you have a question, and it is the job of the speaker to answer your question. But if you interrupt in between, it might disturb others who are actively involved into the speaking. So it will disturb them as well, and it will somehow create the problem. So always try to be patient, be an active listener, and speak only when it is required. So be a very good listener. Do not interrupt, of course. Please do not interrupt in between. Listen, and then your mind will be able to generate more ideas, and your quality of questions are also going to be more effective. So that is going to happen only when you become a good listener. Don't impose your solutions. Now, what do we mean by this? Don't impose your solutions. For example, if you listen to the speaker and if you come to a judgment or conclusion on your own, then it is going to be wrong. For example, especially if you watch Sandeep Maheshwari, so he mentioned one thing in his speech, that I speak from other perspective and my audience think about something else. And why this detachment happens? When the listener who is listening is making his or her assumption in his mind or her mind, and that is where the problem begins. That's why listen to listen, and whenever you are listening to any person, Do not think about anything else. Do not think about any idea or any story in your mind. Just listen to the speaker closely. And if your mind is empty, then only anything would come up. For example, this is a water bottle. If this water bottle is filled, I cannot pour more water inside of it. Now, if I need to add some water, at first I need to open up the neck. I have to spill some water, and then only I can fill this bottle. So the same thing is with listening as well. So if the bottle is filled, if your mind is filled, whatever the speaker is going to say, you are not going to get anything. So for that to happen, at first, whenever you go to any event or whenever you listen to somebody, do not judge that person. Listen to that person at first closely. Then only you will get to know the ideas behind it. Try to picture. Try to picture means whatever the person is speaking, try to think from the speaker's point of view. Do not think from listener point of view. Try to think from speaker's point of view. For example, if you would have been in that position, if you would be a speaker, how would you feel when you would be speaking like this? अगर आप उस स्पीकर की जगह होते तो आप उस टाइम क्या सोच रहे होते? सो अपने आप को हमेशा स्पीकर की जगह पे रख के देखना है. इट विल हेल्प यू नॉट टू जज द स्पीकर. आप स्पीकर को जज नहीं करोगे एंड इट विल ऑल्सो हेल्प यू टू डेवलप योर थिंकिंग प्रोसेस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर इस स्पीकर ने ऐसा बोला है तो उसके पीछे क्या लॉजिक हो सकता है, क्यों बोला होगा, और ये आप तभी समझ पाओगे जब आप स्पीकर के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से सोचोगे. So always try to think from speaker's point of view. If you would like to become a better speaker, तो बेटर स्पीकर्स को यूट्यूब पर आप सुनो और उनके पर्सपेक्टिव से सोचना शुरू करो. जिस दिन उनके पर्सपेक्टिव से सोचना शुरू कर दोगे आप वैसे ही बन जाओगे. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू आर रीडिंग अ बुक, सो ट्राई टू थिंक फ्रॉम ऑथर्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. जिस दिन ऑथर के जैसा सोचना शुरू कर दोगे उस दिन ऑटोमेटिकली आप राइटिंग में परफेक्ट हो जाओगे. So this is what I wanted to say. Keep an open mind. Keep an open mind means always you should open your mind. Your mind should be open to new ideas, new things. अगर आपका माइंड नए आइडियाज और नई चीजें लेने में इन्वॉल्व नहीं है, फॉर एग्जाम्पल आई एम सेइंग समथिंग एंड इफ योर माइंड इज क्लोज मीन्स मैं जो भी बोल रहा हूँ आप सुन रहे हो बट कोई अंदर कुछ चीज अंदर आप जाने नहीं दे रहे हो. सो इट विल बी अ वेस्ट ऑफ टाइम फॉर यू. आई हैव सीन सो मेनी पीपल who do not adapt ideas because they think that they know everything, and that is where the problem begins. And even great philosopher William Shakespeare once said that if you think that you know everything, then my dear, you do not know nothing at all. अगर आपको ये लगता है कि आपको सब पता है तो एक्चुअली में आपको कुछ नहीं पता है. So always keep your mind open, then only your purpose of communication is get established. Defer judgment. डू नॉट जज द स्पीकर. स्पीकर को कभी जज नहीं करना है आपको. स्पीकर कैसा भी हो उसके लुक्स पे नहीं जाना है. यू हैव टू स्टिक टू द कंटेंट. स्पीकर जो आपको बोल रहा है वो चीज समझना है. यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द कंटेंट, नॉट द स्पीकर. स्पीकर को जज नहीं करना है दैट ही और शी डजंट नो एनीथिंग. ऑफ कोर्स we are human beings and it is not possible to be perfect. Every single person has some flaw. But if you pick up the positive thing from that person, not only it will help you, but it will also help that person to get connected with you. And it will help you building relationship socially. कुछ लोग बोलते हैं सर मैं फ्रेंड्स नहीं बना सकता, मुझे लोगों से बात करना नहीं आता. क्यों नहीं आता? Because somehow you are not a good listener. जिस दिन आप लोगों को सुनना शुरू कर दोगे, automatically you will be a good speaker. Because they will also value you. वो भी सोचेंगे कि आप भी उनको सुनते हो. So they will also listen to you when you speak. So always remember this. So this is all about the listening. So let me revise it for you again. Listening skills. Over here we covered giving speaker a regular feedback. Try to feel what the speaker is feeling. Ask questions to keep your speaker engaged. Wait for the speaker to pause. Do not interrupt in between. Do not impose your solutions. Always try to seek solutions, but do not impose. Try to picture from the speaker point of view. Keep an open mind. Defer judgment. Do not judge your speaker at all. Now, next one is CRC method. Well, this is something which especially teachers use. Now, what is CRC method? For example, let's say that you are in your office or you are at a place where your friend or colleague is speaking, and now you need to share the feedback to that person. Now, that is also called communication. If you say passive or negative feedback to your colleague or to your friend, the chances are that the relationship is going to get broken. And that's what is happening these days. लोगों को communication तो सीखना है, लेकिन अपनी family में ही वो communicate नहीं कर पाते. And that's where the relationships are suffering these days. So CRC method says commend, recommend, commend. CRC, commend, recommend, commend. For example, whenever someone speaks, at first praise that person. For example, here Mr. Ramakant is there. For example, if Ramakant speaks, at first I would praise him that you speak really well. It is fantastic. And then you can recommend the feedback which you think if Mr. Ramakant or the speaker would inculcate in his or her speaking, so he or she is going to be good or better. So recommend, for example, you need to share that. For example, if I need to share the feedback with Mr. Ramakant, so I would share like this: Mr. Ramakant, you really did an amazing job. Only one thing which I would like to share it with you, that grammatically here you are incorrect. If you say like this, your level of speaking is more good. Altogether, your speaking is perfect. And at last, while you share the feedback, try to conclude on a positive note. Now here also I shared the feedback to Mr. Ramakant or my audience, but it is a positive note. If I directly say to my audience that आप यहाँ पे गलत हो, you are wrong at this point, immediately the audience will get offended and you will lose the touch with him or her, and they are never going to see your face again. So it is up to you. Commend, recommend and comment. Comment means पहले positive feedback देना है. Recommend, फिर क्या change करना चाहिए था speaker को वो बताना है. फिर comment. Conclusion देना है positively. So this is what you could use. For example, you should and encourage your praise and encourage the speaker. You could also help him out. So if you listen to your speaker very closely and if you share the positive feedback, you are actually helping that person. So that person will also feel genuine and grateful to you. And if you say negative to that person, of course, you are going to lose your touch. Focus on activity and not the person. For example, if the person is communicating, so do not think about the speaker, that the speaker is not looking good or he or she is fat. Do not try to joke about that person. Instead, try to look into the content which he or she is delivering, because you are a good listener now. We have already discussed about the listening skills. So being a good listener, you should focus more on the content. And if you focus more on the content, not only you would be able to help that person, but intentionally you would be helping yourself as well, because only a good listener can trigger the feedback, can pick the feedback, can pick whatever the thing that didn't go well, and then you would be able to give proper feedback to your speaker, and your speaker is going to remember you for the rest of the days because you helped him or her by sharing the positive feedback. The next one is never take it personally. When someone shares feedback with you, never take it personally. कभी personally मत लेना किसी के feedback को, because the person is not sharing the feedback to your personality. He or she is sharing the feedback on the performance, based upon the performance or on the performance which you delivered. हमेशा feedback आपके performance को मिलता है, आपको नहीं मिलता. आपके लिए नहीं होता feedback, आपके performance को improve करने के लिए feedback होता है. So do not take your feedback negatively. कि मुझे ऐसा क्यों बोल दिया, क्या मेरी कोई पर्सनली दुश्मनी है क्या, मुझे क्यों लोगों के सामने बेइज्जत किया. No, never think like this, because unconditionally that person indirectly is helping you to grow in your life. And there is a famous quotation said by Abraham Lincoln that the people who said negative about me, they helped me more in growing than the people who said positive about me. जिन्होंने मेरे बारे में नेगेटिव बोला, उन्होंने मेरी ज्यादा हेल्प की आगे बढ़ने के लिए, बजाय उनके जिन्होंने मेरे बारे में पॉजिटिव बोला. तो ऑलवेज टेक द फीडबैक understand, become a good listener, work on your feedback, and of course, you would be a better communicator. So your purpose should be to encourage. When you are sharing someone any feedback, so your purpose should be to encourage. So that's all about the CRC method. So let's revise it once again. Comment, recommend, comment means start your feedback with on a positive note, then recommend the changes which the speaker need to have. And last but not the least, conclude the feedback in a positive note. It will help, it will praise and encourage the speaker. It will help the speaker focus on activity and not on the person. Of course, you should be more emphasized on the content and not on the person. Never take it personally. And last but not the least, purpose should be to encourage. The more you encourage the speaker, the better his or her performance is going to be. And ultimately, being a speaker, being a communicator, you are also going to develop. And this is one of the most important quality which people are really struggling with: empathy. Now, what do we mean by empathy? When we look from others' point of view, जब मैं किसी और की तरह सोचने लग जाता हूँ, तो that is called empathy. For example, if there is a person who come to you with a problem and you know the solution, but if you show sympathy, अगर आप sympathy दिखा दोगे, so that person will feel good for a shorter period of time, but it is not going to help that person. But अगर आप empathy दिखा दोगे, empathy means at first you will listen to that person very closely. Listening is going to help you, and then whatever skills that you have, you try to propose the solution to that person. It is going to help that person, and it is also going to make you a better communicator. And that is what communication is all about. Communicate to service others. It shows your attribute means whatever skills that you have, try to help the person with your existential skills. That is all about empathy. पहले सुनना है, ध्यान से समझना है, बीच में बिल्कुल नहीं बोलना है. Follow this 2 finger step. You should be you should shut your mouth. जैसे ही आपने लोगों का प्रॉब्लम सुना, सोचा, then try to think of that whether you have the skills to solve that problem or not. आपके पास वो स्किल है कि नहीं उस प्रॉब्लम को सॉल्व करने की. अगर नहीं है, try to connect that person with someone else who you think would help that person in a better way. That is called empathy, and it is one of the most important characteristic of communicator. Communicator का काम ये नहीं है कि सिर्फ बोलते जाना, हेल्प करना किसी पर्सन को किसी और पर्सन के थ्रू. दैट इज ऑल्सो कॉल्ड कम्युनिकेटर. आपने राइट सोर्स के साथ अगर किसी पर्सन को कनेक्ट कर दिया, तो दैट पर्सन इज नॉट गोइंग टू फॉरगेट यू बिकॉज यू डिड योर जॉब. Take their perspective. Whenever someone speaks, think from their perspective. For example, let's say one of my students is speaking with me and telling and sharing his or her problem with me. Now, being a teacher, अगर मैं सिर्फ सुनता जाऊंगा हाँ हाँ हाँ, and after that मैं अगर theoretical solution दूंगा कि practice करो, so of course the student might listen to me, but my purpose of helping that student is not going to get fulfilled. But अगर मैं student के point of view से सोचूंगा कि अगर मैं इनकी जगह पर होता तो मैं क्या करता या मुझे कैसा फील होता, and then फिर मैं उनको solution suggest करता हूँ. So यहाँ पे communication establish हो जाएगा. That is the sole purpose of communication. Think from others perspective. सामने वाले के perspective से सोचना शुरू करो, आपका communication खुद improve हो जाएगा, and it will also help you to deal with your emotions. आप अपने emotions के साथ भी ऐसे deal कर सकते हो जब आप सामने वाले के perspective से सुनना शुरू कर देते हो. How can you add value to that value to the life of that person through the skills which you have? और वो कब होगा जब आप पहले अच्छे से सुनोगे. That's why we discussed about listening. Gather information about your audience. For example, you are communicating. For example, here right now 18 participants are there. So each and every person want to speak effectively. So every single person shares a common interest, which we talked about in our initial slides. So I know about you. I gathered information about you at first, and then only I have organized this workshop. अगर मैं इस वर्कशॉप पे ये लिखता या ये वर्कशॉप होता कि आप कैसे इफेक्टिवली डांस कर सकते हो, सो माइट बी 18 की जगह 8 पार्टिसिपेंट्स भी नहीं होते. because you might feel कि dancing किसको सीखना है, हमको तो speaking सीखना है. So always try to gather the information about your audience. It will help you to give better delivery. Next one, adapt your behavior towards that perspective. For example, अगर कोई आपसे कुछ बोल रहा है, so at first do not judge that person, listen to that person, try to think from his or her perspective. That is all about empathy. And then try to think of the best possible solution. If you have the solution, it is okay. If you do not have, speak to that person, convey that person that right now you do not have. For example, being a trainer, there are some times when students ask some questions. Now, being a teacher, I do not feel bad when I do not know anything. If I do not know anything, I simply say, I am so sorry. Let me do some research. Tomorrow, when I will come, I will definitely give you the solution. It will give two things. It will generate the respect, and of course, it will make sure that I am delivering the right content. Be genuine, which we discussed about it in the previous slide. So this is all about empathy. In empathy, we discussed about the attribute, means your attitude towards helping the person take their perspective. You should think from the speaker's perspective, from speaker's point of view. Gather information about your audience. Whosoever you are speaking with, you should know a thing or two about the audience so that you can propose the right solution. And last but not the least, adapt your behavior towards their perspective. So this is all about the session. Now the session is open for Q&A. So the question and answer session is open. Now, thank you so much for being such wonderful, active listener. Now, if you have any doubt, you can ask. Now the platform is open for questions. Yeah, if you have, I guess, if you have any doubt that you could ask. Oh my God. So many good listeners are here because only if there is no doubt coming in, then it shows two things. You understood everything or you understood nothing.
I want to ask one thing.
Yeah, sure, Mr. Gaurav.
Uh, that how to practice the public speaking right now, because there is no public to speak to. Uh, in the real sense, of course, we can speak in webinars or like this. So how to practice that?
Very nice question, Mr. Gaurav. So how to speak or how to practice speaking in front of public? Very nice question, Mr. Gaurav. So to answer your question, since Mr. Gaurav, we right now we know the situation. What is the current situation? We cannot go and speak in public. Now, always remember public and speaking, these are two different aspects. And public speaking simply doesn't mean that you need an audience of 50 or 100 people. If you go and search in the Google about the definition of public speaking, it, it simply means that there is a public. Now, that public could be your parents, that public could be your sister, that public could be your friend. So there is no any preconceived definition. So if you are able to present your ideas to them in the most simplest way, that is called public speaking. Public speaking simply means कि जो भी आप बोलना चाहते हो वो सामने वाले को अगर समझ में आ रहा है, that is called public speaking. Now, if you are able to communicate your ideas simply and perfectly to your near and dear ones or to a group of people, not more than 5 or 10, then consider yourself as a perfect public speaker. And if you are not able to communicate your idea even to that one person, then how can you expect to speak in front of 50 or 100 people? So always, Mr. Gaurav, you need to remember two things. First, you should live in the presence. You should live in the present. Try to listen to that person very closely, what the question the person is going to ask or asking, and then take some time, take pause, think of the solution, and then answer. That is the perfect way to excel in public speaking. And the second thing is, of course, we have this amazing platform. So we have some great people with us. So you can connect with them and you can communicate with them. But always try to surround yourself with positive people. Because again, if you try to speak with someone who doesn't care about you or doesn't care about your perspective, then the chances are they will demotivate you, and you also after a certain point of time feel lack of motivation, and that's where the problem begins. So public speaking does not mean that you need 10 or 50 people in front of you. Even if you are communicating with your sister or parent, you should be so simple that they can understand you in a single go. That is the goal of public speaking. All right, Mr. Gaurav?
Right, right.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for delivering such a wonderful session, and you conducted such a informative workshop, and it helped us a lot. But sir, one problem I have, which I really wanted to know that what is the right solution of that problem. And sir, are you listening?
Yeah, I'm getting you.
Yeah. So, sir, I feel little problem in one-to-one conversation. Is there any right solution for that problem?
One-to-one conversation. Yeah, of course. So, Miss Sanju, at first, when it comes to communicating with a person,
बंद करो ना क्या कर रही हो अर्शी
yeah, let me mute everybody. Yeah. So, Miss Sanju, when you are communicating with any person, and if you feel, and of course, let me tell you, let's go into the root cause of the problem. Why it happens? It happens only when you think that the person who is in front of you is more skillful than you. Then only this problem happens. For example, if you go on a street and if you have to bargain, so you do not feel lack of confidence. आप बिल्कुल confidently उससे bargaining करते हो. Why? Because you know that he is not skillful as I am. But when it comes to communicate with someone who is more skillful than you, that is where the problem begins. So this is the root cause. Now to eradicate this problem, at first, Ms. Sanju, do not feel negative about yourself or low about yourself. If you feel that you are losing confidence, it's okay to keep silence for a while. थोड़ी देर के लिए चुप हो जाना. Try to summon your courage. थोड़ा आपको courage summon करना है, थोड़ा सोचना है, और सोच समझ के फिर आप उसको आंसर दे सकते हो. So that will help you to develop your confidence. And do not try to answer in a hurry. जल्दीबाजी में बिल्कुल भी नहीं रहना है. Especially if you are communicating with your superior or even your trainer who you think is more capable than you, then of course you can think, you can buy time from that person. Even that person would understand you that you need some time. Try to think for a moment, pause, hydrate the solution which I shared with you, and then you can speak. So this is something which you could follow, Miss Sanju. And the second most important thing is always consider it. Always in life, make one ideal, like whom you would like to become, and try to follow that ideal from the core of your heart. किसी एक इंसान को अपना आइडल बनाना है अपने आप, और उसको पूरा ईमानदारी से फॉलो करना है until and unless you become like him or her. For example, if you would like to be a better communicator, think of a person who is competent in speaking and try to think from speaker's perspective. In listening, we covered it. जब भी आप किसी को सुनो तो उसके perspective से सोचना शुरू करो. And once you do it, do every single possible thing which that person does, and very soon you will start speaking like him or her. So do not look into the end result. In fact, I always say, and I have read it somewhere, that we overestimate the things that we do in one day, but we underestimate the things which we can do in rest of the days. So do not underestimate your potential. So always make one ideal, consider one ideal, like who would so that you could compare yourself with that person. अगर आप किसी को अपना आइडियल बनाओगे तो आप उसके साथ कंपेयर करोगे सो यू गेट टू नो दैट यू आर प्रोग्रेसिंग और नॉट, यू आर मेकिंग प्रोग्रेस और नॉट. और जिस दिन आप उसके जैसा बन जाओगे then your purpose will be fulfilled. So do these two activity, Miss Sanju. At first, take pause, think and answer. And the second thing, until and unless you become comfortable with that person, you could do it. Later on, you can speak fluently. And the second important thing is, and the second important thing is, of course, try to consider one ideal, like who would you like to become. And as Mr. Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is a Hollywood actor, says, एक गोल लो और उसमें अपने आप को झोंक दो. So this is what you have to do. गोल है कि इसकी तरह बनना है, अपने आप को झोंक दो, and very soon you will become like that person. So that answers your question, Miss Sanju. So I hope it answers
Yes,
your.
sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, yeah, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And definitely I would follow that part. Thanks a lot, sir.
Most welcome.
Yeah.
Most welcome.
Yes. Yes, Arindam.
Yes, yes,
I
yes.
have one question for you.
Yeah.
Uh, so I want to know from you that how could I would be a speaker like you?
Okay, how could you be a speaker like me? So you are already, means whosoever knows you, Miss Anita, they praise you. So, Miss Anita, to answer this question, so I am nothing in front of you. So always, Miss Anita, if you feel that you want to speak like me, then of course you can. The best thing would be to go to that person and seek advice. And if possible, since I am now nowhere, I'm standing nowhere, so it is better that you should make some ideal who is perfect in speaking. The same thing which I suggested to Miss Anju as well. For example, for you, it might be great speakers like Chris Americos or someone to whom you could imitate. And the second most important thing which you could do, Miss Anita, is always, which like in my journey, throughout my English journey, I have learned one thing, that if you are a good reader, if you are a good reader, then of course you can become a better speaker and no one could defeat you. Because whenever you read, the person who wrote that book, that person might took 4 or 5 years to write that single book. In fact, recently the book Think Like a Monk, which has been written by Jay Shetty, who is one of the most prominent influencer and great speakers of all time. He took almost 4 years to write that book. 4 years. And you are getting that 4 years of experience in 2 or 3 hours of reading. So that is called smart work. Instead of opting for the hard work, you can opt the smart work. Not only it will help you in your writing skills, it will also help you to think like that author, and very soon you will be a great literate person, great literature like that author. So that is my answer to your question, Miss Anita. Always read as much as possible. Try to take at least 20 or 30 minutes of your time. There are plenty of resources available which we can use to seek information. Especially in one movie, I guess everybody loves to watch movie. So in Chak De India movie, there is one famous dialogue which I still remember. जीतने के लिए जीतने के लिए इरादा चाहिए होता है, स्किल नहीं. तो जीतने के लिए स्किल नहीं, इरादा चाहिए होता है. So if you are very much devoted and if your reason to learn English is clear, I guess you can learn from anywhere, you can learn from everywhere, you can learn from anybody. So of course, Miss Anita, I would suggest you to, again, the same suggestion which I shared with Miss Anju, that you should have one ideal, like whom you would like to become. Read as much as possible. And of course, this is something which we know about you, that you are so much devoted to this language, that right now you are speaking like an American native speaker. So that is my answer to your question. I hope it is it will suffice your question.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Arindam. Thank you. And I definitely will do it. And of course, I'll imitate to you only so that I definitely would be a good speaker like you. Thank you for this advice.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Sir, sir, I have a one question.
Okay, okay. Yes, yes, Miss Geeta. Definitely you can ask.
Sir, how do Perfect practice, sir.
Wow, fantastic. How to practice perfectly. So, Miss Geeta, आपके लिए सिर्फ एक आंसर है, किसी परफेक्ट पर्सन के साथ आप जुड़ जाओ, जो आपको लगता है परफेक्ट है, वो आपको परफेक्ट बना देगा। और आप तो इतनी परफेक्ट लेडी हो, इतने परफेक्ट आप आंसर्स देते हो, तो बहुत जल्दी आप परफेक्ट हो जाओगे। इसमें कोई शक नहीं। एंड definitely you are such a great speaker, Miss Geeta. I have seen your performance.
Sir, who will be perfect, sir?
Who will be perfect? Your mentor, your teacher. टीचर का हाथ पकड़ लो, छोड़ो मत। टीचर बोलता है पानी में कूद जाओ तो बस कूद जाओ, सोचो मत, क्या पता वो आपको तैरना सिखाना चाहता है इसलिए आपको बोल रहा है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर टीचर आपको बोलता है पहाड़ पे चढ़ो और आप देख रहे हो कि ये पहाड़ तो बहुत ऊंचा है, शायद टीचर आपको सिखाना चाहता है कि ऊंचाई से कैसे लड़ा जाए, ऊंचाई का डर कैसे खत्म किया जाए, राइट। सो टीचर को बिल्कुल ब्लाइंडली फॉलो करना है गीता जी। फॉलो योर टीचर ब्लाइंडली, जो वो बोलते हैं, जितने बजे वो बोलते हैं, रात को 12 बजे भी बोलते हैं कि गीता जी आइए क्लास होगा, कर लीजिए। शायद वो आपको सिखाना चाहते हैं कि डिसिप्लिन कैसे अपने लाइफ में लाया जाए, कैसे हार्ड वर्क किया जाए। तो हर एक चीज में आपको आपका मेंटोर सिखा सकता है, राइट। सो आपके पास तो इतने परफेक्ट मेंटोर है और आपका तो इतना परफेक्ट नेचर है, तो डेफिनेटली आप परफेक्ट बहुत जल्दी बन जाओगे।
Thank
वंडरफुल
you,
मिस
sir.
गीता। Yeah, so is there any further question? Miss Pragya, would you like to ask something?
Yeah. I want to ask you, you use word in your conversation is vulnerable. That you have to be vulnerable to uh, to be a to be a speaker. So how could we use this situation like vulnerable and be a good speaker? Oh, I didn't get you properly.
Yeah, so vulnerable simply means, Miss Pragya, so vulnerable has two meanings. The first one is vulnerable means khatarnak, बहुत dangerous है. The second one is you should be vulnerable. Vulnerable means you should be so humble and you should be so approachable that the audience might not feel that इनसे तो हम बात ही नहीं कर सकते. It is not possible to speak with them. He is such a great speaker. He is so
Okay.
successful. How can I connect with that person? So that is what I wanted to say, and that is what I mean by vulnerable. That you should be so humble. And when is it going to happen? When you share your story, when you share your success story, when you share your failure story. That I was also like you in my past days, but I did this, and that's why I am successful. So that person who is going through self-doubt, that person will think that you are going to generate a ray of hope inside that person, because that person will connect with you, and that person too could think that if he or she can do like this, then so could I. So this is what I mean by vulnerable. Is it clear, Miss Pragya?
Yeah. It's totally clear. Thank you so much.
Most welcome. Yes, Mr. Vinay, would you like to ask something?
Good evening, everyone. Sir, it was a very nice presentation, and I have seen Ms. Geeta, she started practicing also your tips to use to singer. It was really nice. Sir, 2 points I also want to know. Questions I have. That is, sir, though we know that the lack of confidence it deep impact it create a kind of problem in communication. But then also, sir, we at the time when we are preparing for presentation, we think about everything, whatever we can. But at the time when we are going to present, we are it is we forget when we forget all those. What is the key point for that time? For that means exact when we start at the same time, what we can do. And second thing, sir, how we can use gesture as use. I was looking at you, and I always use see your gesture. I like it. But then also with that, when we speak, At that time, if I am comfortable with the audience, I can use gesture. But when I am not comfortable, I'm not going to use any hand gesture or facial impression.
Yes. Mr. Vinay, so far, since your audio is breaking, so whatever I gathered is that whenever you feel comfortable with the audience, it would you feel it easier for you to deliver the message. But when there is unknown audience in front of you, you feel lack of confidence. So is it the gist of whatever you would like to ask, Mr. Vinay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, all right. Because since your voice was breaking, so this is what I got. Yes, very nice question. It is one of the best questions of the session, that when it comes to speaking in front of unknown audience, you feel underconfident. And it is okay if you are feeling underconfident. Why? Because again, practice. We emphasized on practice as well. And I also told you about perfect practice makes a man, not practice makes a man perfect. Perfect practice. So still I remember, Mr. Vinay, to answer your question, I would strongly recommend you to watch this movie, Guru. So it is this movie is all about the story of Ambani, how Ambani became the person who is right now. So in that movie, I got one thing. So I would like to share it with you. Whenever you speak, whenever you practice, close your eyes. Close your eyes. If you are practicing to speak in front of people and you would like to deliver a speech, close your eyes and think for a moment that a large group of audience is sitting in front of you. And how would you be feeling at that point of time? Are you going to feel nervous? Are you going to feel sweating in your body? Are you going to stammer? And just open your eyes. Take a glass of water and do this once again. So you need to face your fear. This is all about facing your fear. Now, of course, you could not afford to go in front of audience and becoming fearful. That way, you would not be able to deliver your message. But you could create the scenario, because mind is one of the best asset that we could use in our own favor. So try to imagine the situation. Try to think that a group of 1,000 people are sitting in front of you, and how you can make your speech simple, so that even the person who is sitting at the last corner would listen and understand you. That's why I told you that we should simplify our topic. If you make it complicated, you will get stuck. And if you simplify your topic, even the person or the audience might feel connected with you, and they will quickly gel up with you. In between, Mr. Vinay, you could also use sense of humor. So very soon we are going to conduct workshop on handy humor speech. How in between you could introduce some jokes, so that you could break this ice, you could break the seriousness of the audience, and that will help you to connect very well with your audience. Because आपने देखा होगा, when if you go to any seminar or any big workshop, after every 5 or 10 minutes, speaker speaks something which makes the audience laugh. Why does the speaker do like this? To make sure at first, the audience is not sleeping, the audience is well connected with the speaker, and the audience is enjoying, and the audience is active. So these are four things which you can which you can do, which can be established in while introducing humor in between. For example, if you are feeling nervous, so then you could say that, my God, I am feeling nervous. I do not know what to say, but I am a fool, and fool always जहाँ पे भी fool जाता है वो बाहर ही कर देता है. So let me give the speech. So do like this. Add some humor in your speech immediately. Once सिर्फ एक बार अगर आपके ऑडियंस ने आपके ऊपर हंस दिया, स्माइल कर दिया, you will gain back your audience. You feel nervous only when you feel कि मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो ऑडियंस को समझ में आ रहा है कि नहीं. So to make sure that whatever you are saying your audience is getting, add humor in between, and you will very soon establish the confidence. So I guess, yeah. So I guess, Mr. Vinay, so is it clear? So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay, okay. So is it sufficient? Like, does this answer suffice your question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So you could do like this. So anything else? I really love when people ask questions. So if you have anything else to ask, you could ask. All right. I guess it is clear to every one of you. So I hope you enjoyed the topic, which is audience essentials of communication. And last but not the least, I have one humble request from all of you. So this is the last slide which I would like to share with you. So if you really feel that we provide value, of course, you are our assets. So kindly refer us to the people who might benefit from the sessions and succeed in life. So please refer English Times if you feel that it is adding quality in your life. And that's all about today's session. I hope you enjoyed it. Kindly share your takeaways in the group, because I am going to ask you in our sessions the lessons which you have gained. And if you are new to this workshop, and still if you have any doubt, then you could text me on my WhatsApp number. I will try my level best to answer your query. So thank you so much everyone for coming and blessing this platform with your wonderful presence. I'm really glad that you gave your precious time, because time is something which cannot be compared even with money. So you shared your precious time with me. I'm really grateful to all of you. So that's all for the day. Thank you so much everyone for coming in and joining this